Hey, welcome. My name is Extravaganza Grotesca, and I'm here to tell you another real-life horror story. Silent Hill is a horror movie from 2006 based on a survival horror video game that came out in 1999. I remember I went to the cinema to watch the film and I really loved it. So I rewatched it very recently and I was in shock of how good the special effects were. Seriously, this film was made in the early 2000s and it has better visuals than some movies nowadays. But I'm not here to talk about the special effects. I'm here to tell you about the real place in which both film and video game got their inspiration from: Centralia. Centralia is a town in Pennsylvania that has been literally burning for the past 60 years. Literally, that place is a gateway to hell. It is a ghost town surrounded by smoke that rises from underneath its very own floors. And not only that, it also has a dark past, a dark story, and a curse that maybe was the one that started everything. So let's just get into the story. Around the mid-1800s, it was discovered that that area in Pennsylvania was very rich in coal. So a mining engineer called Alexander Ray moved over there with his family in order to build a village and extract the coal. In 1854, the Mine Run Railroad was built in order to transport the coal out of the valley, and by 1863, there was already 5 mines with a lot of people working there that all lived in the village, so that place was blooming. Unfortunately, in 1868, the town's founder, Alexander Ray, was murdered. 3 men were eventually convicted because of the crime and they were hanged. That was the starting point of several years of a lot of violence in Centralia. Several other murders took place, as well as other incidents of arson and assaults. During those years of violence and crime, some people were convinced that the ones to blame for all that were members of the Molly Maguires, a secret society that originated in Ireland and made its way to the American coal mines hidden among Irish immigrants. Some others thought that it was just the owners of the mines themselves causing that chaos in order to stop the workers from organizing into unions. Either way, all the crimes ended in 1877 when many of the Molly Maguire's leaders were hanged. So we don't know whether it was them or whether it was the miner owners, but the thing is that after all that people that died and that people were hanged because of it, they were like, okay, maybe it is time to stop. So the thing that is really interesting is that after dark times, there is one thing that almost always arises: a legend. So during that violence, the Father Daniel McDermott was assaulted, and he cursed the land by saying that there would be a day when the Catholic Church would be the only structure remaining in Centralia. Remember this curse because I'm gonna get back to it later. Once the violence ended, the town kept flourishing. It had 14 active coal mines, and at its peak, it reached a population of nearly 3,000 people. That was until the First World War, when many young miners left Centralia in order to enlist the military. But anyway, people had a good life over there. There was a lot of coal, there was a lot of work going on. So they were, just happy living in Centralia. In May 1962, the Council of Centralia hired 5 members of the Volunteers Fire Department in order to clean up the landfill. So on the 27th of May, those firefighters set the garbage on fire and let it burn for some time. They were used to do this because this is the way that the garbage is kind of destroyed, vanished, and it is a controlled fire. So they've done it so many times and they were like, yeah, we can do it, it's good. 2 days later, some people saw that there was still flames coming out of the pit. And that was it. The gates of hell had been opened, and now it was too late to stop it. Tongues of smoke were emerging from the ground and they kept extending all across the floor of Centralia. High levels of carbon monoxide were detected, and that meant that the underground mine was burning. So what happened was that there was an unsealed opening in the pit in where the firefighters burned the garbage. So that allowed the fire to enter one of the abandoned tunnel that run underneath. And after that, the fire got in there and just spread all across the labyrinth of the coal mines that run all underneath of Centralia. People go on with their lives despite the fact that there was burning ground underneath their feet. But in 1979, they became aware of the scale of the problem when the owner of the gas station went to check the fuel levels. He inserted a stick on the barrels to check how full they were, just like you do when you go to your car and check the oil level, which, by the way, is something we all have to do at least once a year. So he put the stick in, and then when he took it out, he noticed that the stick was really hot. So he got worried, and he went to check the temperature of the gasoline and realized that it was extremely hot, like the gasoline was alarmingly hot. It shouldn't be that hot when it's in the barrel. So he was like, hey guys, maybe we have a problem here. So they thought about that fire and they were like, maybe this is still going on underneath us. And they tried several times to extinguish the fire. They just couldn't do it because it had spread so much and it was just silently burning underneath them. So even though people of Centralia knew that, the mine was burning, they were divided on the question whether it was an actual threat to them or not. Obviously, that was until some residents started to pass out from the carbon monoxide that was poisoning them. Then the trees started dying, and then the ground started turning into ash. So, they were like, okay, maybe this is serious. On the 14th of February 1981, this is 19 years after the fire started, a 12-year-old boy fell into a huge crack that just suddenly opened on a backyard. The crack was 1.2 meters wide and it was 46 meters deep. Literally, it just opened just like that underneath his feet and he fell onto it, but he was lucky that he managed to get hauled onto a tree until he was pulled up of that hole, basically. So he survived. However, people were like, okay, it's definitely time to move out of Centralia. Everyone started leaving the village, and by 2002, the US Postal Services discontinued the postcode of Centralia. By 2010, only 5 houses remain standing. And remember that curse that the priest put over the town about the church being the only surviving structure? Well, St. Mary's Church hasn't been affected by the fire yet and still holds services every Sunday. Also, the graveyards that were in the town are still in good conditions. All roads leading to Centralia have been barricaded, just like in Silent Hill, to stop the trespassers from going in, they said. Or maybe it is to stop evil from getting out. The underground fire is still burning, and it will continue to do so for hundreds of years. One last question. Do you think that what happened at Centralia was because of the curse that priest put over the town? Or do you think it was just because people weren't careful enough when they were making fires on top of a mine? I know the answer, but I would like to think it was because of the curse, because I like those kind of legends. Anyway, let me know what you think about the story and give it a thumbs up if you like this kind of content, and if you would like me to create more videos like this and tell you more stories, subscribe. So I'll be eternally grateful for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.